I'm joined today by the newly crowned World Matchplay champion, Dimitri van den Bergh. Dimitri, how are you?
I'm feeling ecstatic, I'm feeling proud, and mate, I am living and walking around like a champion.
Well, not just like a champion, you are a champion. Congrats on your first major. You said after you beat Adrian Lewis in the quarterfinals that you were in it to win it, and you did just that. What were you feeling when that double 16 went in and you won the title?
I was feeling like it couldn't have gone any wrong. It couldn't have gone any different way because look to the way I did it as well. At some point, I've got myself in a nice lead against Gary. I was 16-9 up before we went into the last break, and I just walked off that stage and I was saying, like, it's going to be mine. I'm going to do it. It's going to be my title. And then at that moment, when I hit that double 16, it all went like, yes, I got it. I've done it. Yeah. And then obviously you could see that big smile on my face when John McDonald was calling me out as the winner of 2020 World Matchplay. It's wow. I think I'm still in disbelief, you know?
Yeah, it sounds that way somewhat. But looking back, you were quite probably the most consistent and best player over the week. Did you feel early on that it could be your week, or were you just taking it one match at a time?
I was exactly busy with taking it one match at a time, but I did spoke a bit more arrogant this time. I did spoke stronger about my own abilities and just putting myself on that extra level of knowing that I can do it, knowing that I can play strong against any player and believe that any game that I play that I can outcome as the winner. And that's how I went into every game. I went into be busy with your own game, be busy with who you are, with what you do, and not with who you're playing or what they can do. Just take it one by one. And what they've told me before already was, you've got the future in your own hands. And that's how I kept talking to myself. I've kept the focus all on me and not about who I play and what round I was playing.
Now, we'll come back to the match play in a bit, but it's been a couple of years, 2 to 3 years since we last had you on, so want to ask some questions about your development over the last few years. Last year, of course, was a big year for you, having your senior breakthrough, 2 Pro Tour finals, a couple semifinals as well, getting into the World Grand Prix. What do you think clicked for you at the senior level in 2019?
I don't know what changed in 2019, but I do know that I was finally making steps. It took me a lot of time. It took me 5 to 6 years before I got myself onto a Pro Tour final. That was the first step, you know. I was like trying to show myself that I can go deep on a field like that between players of that quality. And, you know, it's the world's 128 best players in darts, and they're from all over the world, from Australia, America, Canada. Now we even have a player from Hong Kong on the tour that managed to get his tour card, and the man is also one you need to be careful with because even he is one of the great players. Even he can win any game that he likes to win. And yeah, just getting myself into a final of a tournament like that was a boost. And then a little later I did it again, and as you said, I qualified myself for the World Grand Prix, and that was my debut as well. It was like one of my goals. Every year, step up. Every year, do better. Like I started in my first year, I think, with 2 major TV events, which was the World Series Finals and the World Championship. The year after, I had the same 2 tournaments, or maybe I had the Grand Slam of darts, the World Championship, and the Player Championship Finals. And I was continuing growing and continuing achieving goals and step by step getting closer to my dreams. And all of a sudden, a back-to-back World Youth Champion, I just see myself develop slowly but strongly, and all of a sudden you have a win like this, and now I'm in the top 16 of the world. It's, oh mate, wow, I'm happy that I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, and I will not change.
I'll keep doing it this way.
You mentioned those 2 World Youth titles. You, of course, the most successful player in development tour history, although Ted Evans is coming after your records. Last year was the first year you no longer could play those. How important was the development tour to your development, and did you do anything differently last year to fill the void not having those 6 weekends to play development tour?
I reckon that my mind did something different. I reckon that I was always focused on the development tours more than I reckon I was on the pro tours, because maybe I was still, I don't know, thinking as that's where I need to be on my best. That's where I need to be strong and show them again and again and again why I want to be a role model and why I want to show the youth development players that you've got to take it serious from a young age, and you've got to take your chances. You've got to take them with your both hands. And I'm coming over to the Pro Tours. I knew that I can win against anyone, but I also could lose against anyone. And I think I've always kept myself back. I think I've always, because of my own mind, kept myself on a leash instead of try to play freely. And then as soon as I stopped playing the development tour, there was no other way of going 100% and then actually getting myself into a final in like the next few weeks after that. I couldn't play the development tour anymore. That was just a little statement for myself as saying, why have I kept myself back on the tour before? Why didn't I just step up straight away?
Now, at the end of last year, you went to the World Championships defending quarterfinal money from 2 years earlier, and you defended it all, getting back to the quarterfinals. Did you feel any added pressure having to defend that money, or did it not even enter your mind?
Before I went on to get to the quarterfinals, my mind was somewhere completely different. I played a really bad European Championship in October, especially for my feelings, especially for my mind. It broke me down a bit, and since that moment happened, I changed my mind around, and I changed my behavior to the world of darts around, and even took it even more professional and started working really hard, but like working really hard in putting in the hours day after day after day, from in the morning till supper time. You know, it's like doing it as a proper job, putting in 5 to 8 hours on a regular base, and yeah, I just took that like 2 or 3 months before the Worlds, as in, this is a new me. This is me working hard for it, and I've got to do it. And you know, the Worlds is where you want to shine. The Worlds is where you want to be the winner. So I didn't really thought about the 2 years before. I thought about more of how I was feeling at that moment and how hard I worked for it. So I just went on that stage, and obviously my first time ever that I was of the top 32 seeded players. And I just performed straight away with a strong game against Josh Payne, and then just kept going as far as I could. And then I had to play Adrian Lewis, and I couldn't get any near to him until the fifth set started, 3-1 down. And then me and he had a little chat back door, and he was like, obviously he said, I've been working and preparing myself for the past 6 months. And I was like, oh, I was like, that says a lot. I've only been doing it for the last 2 months. He said like, well, that's it, kids. But you know what? Always next year. And I just went on that stage again, and I was freely, and I just played my game and managed to pass Adrian Lewis in the last 16 to get myself in the quarterfinal. And that's just like taking it as I always do, game by game, focus on yourself, and whatever happened in the past, you can't change it. It's the future that you can change.
You mentioned that great run at Worlds to that quarterfinals. You had another good run just a few months later this year in Minehead, getting to the quarterfinals before losing in one of the highest quality matches of the weekend to Gerwyn Price. Did you feel after Minehead that your breakthrough performance was close?
Not really. After Minehead, I just showed myself once again that when you put me on a stage, that I can play really strong, and for some reason I can step up. Now I've got to say though that if you look to other players, their draw, but that's obviously the UK Open the way it works, there were a whole lot more tougher games than the rounds that I had to play. No disrespect to any of them, but I kind of felt that I always scratched through, that I always got myself into in the next round with not playing the strongest that I can. But I reckon that's also because my mind was on its strongest yet. So I was happy that I always could like just pass by my opponents. And then at the end, I did play my best game of the week as well, very strong, over 100, and I lost it. So, yeah, I know that I was happy in the quarterfinal, but I wanted to step on, and once again, I didn't. And now at the match play, I did step on, and I did perform from the start, very strong until the end of the tournament. And that's more like me. That's not more like what I have in the tank. That's more like, this is what I can do.
Now, right after Minehead, there was the weekend of Players' Championship events before lockdown. Some players pulled out, went home early, and you ended up staying with Peter Wright for a couple months. How did that all come about, and what was that experience like?
The experience itself is an experience where other dart players and loads of other fans would have loved to have. It's unbelievable to be around the world champion, the man that has so many experiences, and all of a sudden after so many years, after turning 50, I reckon, he has become for the first time in his life a world champion. He shared all of his experiences with me. He talked about his past life and the way he got through his life in playing darts and traveling around, and how darts was in his years until it becomes now, and how he gets himself built up to tournaments, how he thinks. And I've learned a lot, and especially little tips, little advice that I took on has been working for my own mind. So this experience definitely is something that I will always remember, and I was always will be very grateful to Peter and his missus. I will never take that for granted.
We saw how it paid off at the match play, and let's talk about that again. You were the last up in the first round against Nathan Aspinall, the only first-round match on Tuesday. So you played 5 games in 6 days. Do you think that helped your progression in the tournament?
I don't know if it helped. I think it would have been nicer to play the first round. You have a day off, and then you play your second round. Because obviously the first round is one of the biggest games you will be playing of any tournament, because you do not want to go to a tournament and go out first round. So in the way I performed against Nathan, which was also a player I've never managed to beat before, that was for me a very, very great start, and I was very proud of it. And then I did a few clinical finishes in that game that got me through at the end. Then I had to play Joe Collin the day after, another player that most of the time wins against me. I think out of 5 games that we had against each other, he won 4 out of the 5. So that also says that managing to win against a player I've never won before, and then winning against a player that actually all the time wins against me, that are just little steps in my mind that shows actually as a big result in winning this tournament. And I am so happy that I'm finally showing myself that I have it in me, that I have the ability to push on, and I am more focused on myself and not on my opponents, and that's what I did the whole tournament through.
You mentioned pushing on, and nowhere did that show through more than the semifinal against Glenn Durrant, against your stablemate. You had a big lead. He came back, took the lead on you 15-14. What did you think to get over the line and win those last 3 legs?
I thought to myself, even though I was ahead of Glenn the whole time, I knew that he is a fella that keeps fighting. He never gives up. He keeps digging in. And then it went 15-14 for him, and I said, all right, this is your leg. Win your leg. So that's how I took on the last leg. I went like, win, focus again on your own game, and then I got the chance. Like, if you're playing a player like Glenn, you know that he can hit the 15-dart leg on his own throw with ease. But that leg, I was after 12 and a double. He didn't finish that leg off. And then I said, like, okay, you have the future in your own hands. Take it. Finish it off right here, and then hold your own throw. And then I stood straight the first start in the number 14. And then I went 140, ton, left myself another double after 12 darts, which is exactly what I was saying to myself. Take the future in your own hands and play your own game. Hold your own throw, and that's exactly how it went. And my mind worked really perfect on them 3 last legs in that game. And still, it's phenomenal for me. It's unbelievable for me to win against a player like that, because the man also has a ton of experiences. And years ago, he's also one of the players that played against my dad. Glenn knows my dad very well.
Talking about years ago, we have just a couple more questions, but years ago, Eric Claris won the World Masters 1995, the only Belgian before you to lift a major title. What's the reaction been like back home since Sunday, now that you're a major champion?
It's unbelievable how many people actually are happy with me, and how many people that have been following me and remember me, and especially even though that I've just become a major champion, they still look at me as the Dimitri that they know from years ago. And the thing about me as well is I will never forget where I come from. I will always keep my feet on the ground, and well, I am taking my time, but slowly I am almost answering to everybody back. And it's so nice to see all of these messages and all of that support, and I'm really loving it. I really am. It's unbelievable. And my family, if you listen to them, if you look at them, you can see how proud they are. And that just makes it even more beautiful and makes me even more realize that I've done something special here.
And last question, you mentioned that you never forget where you come from, but now where do you go from here? Up to number 12 in the world. What's the next target for you?
My next target is going to be the same thing as always. I'm going to be focusing on the future. I'm going to be practicing again. I'm going to be getting my mind ready for the next tournament that I have to play. I'm always going to be busy with myself, make sure that my mind stays strong. And I've already got told that I now have a target on my back and that people want to win against me and want to beat me. So I need to be prepared and I need to be ready so I can continue playing my strong game, my performances of around 100 average. So if they do beat me, then they have to play brilliant and with a lot of quality. And I know they all can. But I know that I'm always going to give them a hard time that if they do want to beat me. And besides that, I just want to keep climbing on the ranks until I become the number one. But I'll do it as always, take my time, do it slowly, step by step.
Well, Dimitri, congratulations on the title and best of luck taking it step by step to number one.
Well, mate, thank you very much. Appreciate the time as well. And especially extra thank you for being interested in doing an interview, mate. Appreciate that.